It was a cold December evening during one of our family vacations in Vermont. Each year, we rented a sprawling cabin tucked deep in the woods, a tradition that brought us together for laughter, games, and stories by the fireplace. This year, someone suggested laser tag in the forest at night. We thought it would be thrilling, a harmless way to add some excitement. As the sun dipped below the horizon, we geared up, each family member claiming a laser gun. The rules were simple: split into teams, scatter into the woods, and whoever hit the most targets won. The adrenaline was high as we counted down, then rushed into the darkness, the beams from our guns cutting through the cold night air. I ventured farther than I intended, drawn by the thrill of the game and the silence of the woods. The sounds of my family's laughter and shouts of "Gotcha!" faded until I was alone. The only sound was the crunch of snow beneath my boots and the occasional rustle of leaves as a light wind passed through. That's when I first heard it. At first, it was faint, just a distant crack of a twig. I smiled, thinking one of my cousins was sneaking up on me. I crouched low behind a tree, gripping my laser gun, ready to surprise them. The sound grew closer, but it didn't sound right. The footsteps were uneven, heavier than a person's, like someone, or something, dragging their feet. I squinted into the shadows, my breath visible in the frigid air. That's when I saw it. A faint red glow, two small, round lights, hovering at a distance, like eyes piercing through the darkness. I froze, my heart racing. The glow didn't move for what felt like an eternity, but I couldn't take my eyes off it. Then it shifted, slowly, deliberately, turning directly toward me. I wanted to believe it was part of the game, maybe a laser gun malfunction, but deep down, I knew better. This was no laser. As the figure moved closer, I began to make out its shape. It was tall, far taller than anyone in my family, at least 7 or 8 feet. Its frame was impossibly thin, almost skeletal, with elongated limbs that swayed unnaturally with each step. Its skin was a pale, sickly white, almost glowing under the faint moonlight. It stopped a few feet away, just outside the range of my gun's beam. I could feel its gaze, those red eyes burning into me. It tilted its head, as if curious, and let out a low, guttural sound, a mix between a growl and a whisper. Panic surged through me. My body screamed to run, but my legs felt rooted to the spot. Finally, as it took another step forward, I broke free from my paralysis. I ran. I didn't care where I was going, I just ran, crashing through branches and tripping over roots. I could hear it behind me, the sound of heavy footsteps and the occasional snap of a branch. At one point, I stumbled, falling hard onto the icy ground. My laser gun slipped from my hands, skidding out of reach. I glanced back as I scrambled to my feet, and there it was, those glowing red eyes now much closer. It wasn't running, just walking, but its long strides were closing the distance fast. Somehow, I found the strength to keep moving. I burst out of the woods and into the clearing where the cabin stood, my chest heaving, my throat burning from the cold air. I didn't stop until I was inside, slamming the door shut behind me. "What happened?" my mom asked, her face pale with worry as she saw my state. "There's something out there," I managed to gasp, leaning against the door. "It's not human." The family fell silent, exchanging uneasy glances. We decided to stay inside for the rest of the night. No one went back into the woods. The next morning, with the sun high in the sky, a few of us worked up the courage to return to the spot where I had dropped my laser gun. It wasn't hard to find. The snow clearly showed the signs of my frantic escape. But what we found there sent chills down our spines. A snowman stood in the middle of the path. It was tall and eerily thin, like the figure I'd seen. Its stick arms were unnaturally long, and in one of its hands it held my laser gun. We stared at it in stunned silence, trying to make sense of what we were seeing. None of my family claimed responsibility for it. We dismantled the snowman and left the woods as quickly as we could. Even now, I don't know what I encountered that night. Was it a prank, a trick of the mind, or something far more sinister? All I know is that those glowing red eyes still haunt my dreams, and I haven't set foot in those woods again.